To this day.
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 What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning George Kambosos, Devin Haney. According to Eddie Hearn, George Kambosos versus Devin Haney is possible for the Middle East. Eddie Hearn says he's began talks with promoter Ludabella for a fight between undisputed lightweight champion George Kambosos Jr. and WBC's champion Devin Haney for potentially in the Middle East in May. Hearn states that he received an offer from the Middle East to stage the George Kambosos versus Devin Haney fight over there, and that's the location where he's heading towards staging the contest. Hearn is aware that Vasily Lomachenko's promoter at Top Rank are hoping to make the fight with Kambosos. Still, he feels confident that the Australian fighter will pick Haney so that they can finish the undisputed business. According to Hearn, the fans want to know who the number one fighter is in the lightweight division, and one way for them to find out is Kambosos fighting Haney. Hearn will sell the Kambosos versus Haney fight based on it proving who is the number one fighter at 135, but it won't solve the real top dog or who the real top dog is. For the number one fighter to be determined, it would require many tournaments between top lightweights. Makes sense. So you have George Kambosos, Devin Haney, Vasyl Lomachenko, Michael Rivera, Gervonta Tank Davis, and Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and also you got Rolly Romero in the mix. Kambosos Jr. versus Haney in the works. He says, I spoke to Ludabella yesterday, and he's doing his work in Australia, said Eddie Hearn to the DAZN boxing show when asked if negotiations are going on for the fight between George Kambosos and Devin Haney. We've had an offer from the Middle East for Devin Haney versus Kambosos. This is where we're edging towards where we're receiving a firm offer for. For me, it's the only fight in the division. I know Top Rank is talking about Lomachenko versus Kambosos. We need to wrap up this undisputed situation. We need to know who the real champion is. It's a natural fight. Haney against Kambosos is a brilliant fight, Hearn said. I don't think it matters a whole lot to Kambosos whether he becomes the undisputed champion outright. If Kambosos chooses Haney as his opponent for May, it's because the money is to his liking and he believes that he can beat him. Kambosos won't choose Haney because he wants to wrap up this undisputed situation, as Hearn maintains. He states, we can do it Sunday in Australia. We can do it in the United Arab Emirates. We can do it in America. Devin Haney is ready to go for that fight. He won't price himself out. He realizes that George Kambosos is the king of the division right now, and he's the one with the most belts, and he's the one that put in a good performance last time with a big win over Teofimo Lopez. If Hearn gets an offer to stage the Kambosos Haney fight in the Middle East, that will give him a significant advantage over the Top Rank and the other promoters to land the fight against Kambosos. Haney wants to be undisputed. I'm going to stop there. Okay, I'll leave the link below. All right. Middle East. Middle East is becoming undisputed for the site fees. Okay, they are massive. They have the money, they have the oil, they have the money. Right. So, you had Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz, the rematch there. It was a massive amount of money that was on the table. Anthony Joshua made $85 million and Andy made 13. Okay. So it was a lot of money that both fighters made. And since then, that's pretty much set a trend in the Middle East. Before that, you had the WWE, which Tyson Fury walked away with $15 million flat. Okay, so, they have the money there. and they're trying to change their reputation in the Middle East. And it sounds great and fine and dandy and all that, okay? But let me counterpunch something, and I want to make it very clear. Offering George Kambosos a lot of money is one thing, but I think they're missing the point. But rightfully so. Let me explain. Of course, this is prize fighting. Like Floyd, Money Mayweather says, this is prize fighting. That's what we fight. We fight for a prize. Right? It's prize fighting, dummy. But that's true. But George Kambosos, I think he's in a very fickle position because he can bounce in or bounce out because he has options. Okay. He has options. He has Devin Haney, the WBC. He has Vasyl Lomachenko over at Top Rank, right? Which is the former, quote unquote, well, he's the former unified champion. All right. And what is the main concern for George Kambosos? Now, he did say, hey, well, mate, you might need to sell your jewelry to make this fight. Well, fine. Eddie Hearn has come through with connections in the Middle East, which he has, right? But I don't think it was money, and I think that was cap. I think the main thing is it's a little bit of both, but I think George Kambosos wants to fight in Australia. And if this fight doesn't happen, don't say I didn't tell you so, okay? The fight in Australia, I think, is paramount. Right? It's paramount because George Kambosos wants to come back to have his victory fight. This is somewhat of his homecoming fight in Australia. You know, so for you offering the Middle East, it could be for 10 million. You know, would he turn down 10 million? I don't know. Because I think that's an easy way out of the negotiations if it can't be in Australia. That's how Bob can run away with it. Because Lomachenko said that he would go to Australia. Okay. Now, so did Devin Haney. But the connections for Eddie Hearn is not in Australia. We all know what happened with Manny Pacquiao and Jeff Hearn, the Hornet. Right? The Hornet stinged, grabbed, tackled, right? Grappled, and won a fight. I mean, it was a very awkward fight for Manny. Manny looked like he was bullied by the bigger guy, Jeff Hearn. You know, in fact, a couple more fights, he went up to 154 after the Terrence Crawford fight, right? But Manny, a lot of people would agree that he won that fight and didn't get the nod. Well, that could happen for Devin Haney or whatnot. I don't know if Eddie Hearn is considered that, but I think Eddie Hearn is just putting everything on the table. But I think he's missing the ball with this one. I think George Kambosos will want to fight in Australia, okay? And it would have to be a massive, stupid, priced out number in order for him to fight somewhere else, okay? So at the end of the day, I feel that the money is one thing, but I don't think that's the only selling point when it comes down to making this fight happen with Devin Haney, especially when you got Vasyl Lomachenko. Because you got to look at it like through George Kambosos' eyes. He's like, okay, I beat the man that beat the man, right? But I beat the man that beat the man that wouldn't fight the man again. That's still feared, that's still respected, and his name is Vasyl Lomachenko. How about I be the man that beat the man and beat the other man? You know, and what does that do for Devin Haney? Nothing. It leaves him in the same position. And I think Devin Haney, for the amount of people that duck him, avoid him, run from him, or whatever you want to call it, okay? I don't think that Devin Haney's in any position to, hey, how about let's fight over here? Okay, because he's already made it clear, bars, that he wants to fight in Australia. So I think Eddie Hearn should consider that. I know he has his connections out there in the Middle East, but he has to consider like, hey, let me be submissive for once instead of trying to play, you know, that Gordon Gekko shit. You know what I mean? Wall Street, right? And submit to going to Australia and submit to going to Australia first. And I think that's how he could sell that fight. But if not, Vasyl Lomachenko, George Kambosos, Australia. That's what I see. Again, the money sounds good. I don't know how much the money is per se, but let's see. Yeah, they don't have an amount that they offered him. So we will see that in the upcoming months, maybe, weeks, days. But when that comes out, I will drop a video about it, a follow-up video. You guys tell me what you think of Eddie Hearn's plan to bring George Kambosos and Devin Haney to the Middle East. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.